Magic Roundabout, eh? They must have been on them there, the drugs. All the drugs. Everything up from antihistamines. So, what's this all about? Well, there was a French series called Le Ménage Enchanté that premiered in 1963. It was a charming stop-motion animation that had more than 400 episodes. And as you can see, it's the Magic Roundabout. Except it's not the Magic Roundabout at all. You see, that's not Dylan, it's Floppy. That's not Florence, it's Margot. That's not Dougal, it's, and I'm very serious when I say this, it's Pollux. Yes, Pollux. You see, the BBC initially rejected La Ménage Enchanté because they felt it wouldn't translate very well. So what they did do was they did basically what Saban would do with Super Sentai and Kamen Rider some 30 years on. Yes, they did a bit of a Power Rangers, because what they did was they took all the original footage and got Emma Thompson's dad Eric to recut the old footage, change the character names, make all new English language scripts and tell brand new stories with that re-edited footage. And you know what? It bloody well worked. It's a ruddy cult classic and it lasted for 441 5-minute long episodes from 1966 to 1977. The storyline? Is there a storyline? I don't know, not really. But Dougal, Ermintrude, Dylan and Brian all reside in a magic garden. And on occasion, Zebedee, the Jack-in-the-Box and Florence would appear there via the pan-dimensional eponymous roundabout of which we speak. Each of the characters had distinct personalities, with Dougal being a sort of a world-weary grump, so easily the one that I most identified with then. Children loved it and adults were fond of it too, mainly due to its psychedelic links. Dylan was evidently perpetually stoned, slumped as he was against various objects because of his addiction to the weed. Dougal's keenness for sugar lumps was seen as an LSD addiction, while Zebedee's animated jumpiness was thought to be related to him being on speed. The series had a few comebacks, with Nigel Planer and then Jimmy Hibbert voicing revivals after Eric Thompson died, and then someone had the bright idea of making a soulless CGI movie in the late 2000s with Kylie Minogue and Robbie Williams in the lead roles, along with a host of British actors who are far better at acting than Kylie Minogue and Robbie Williams, but a lot worse at making late 90s pop music that's popular with the kids. The Spectrum game was made by a two-man team, Paul Andrew Stoddard and Jay Derritt for the CRL Group PLC. CRL, you might remember, did the rather un-Terrahawksy Terrahawks game that I covered about a year ago. The Magic Roundabout game is at least recognisably Magic Roundabouty. You're cast as Dougal, and once again you have a hankering for them there sugar cubes, but you also need lodgings. We all need lodgings. And the only brick type shape in the Magic Garden, well, it appears to be the self-same sugar cubes that Dougal is hopelessly addicted to. Your task then is to build a house out of the sugar cubes, and you must do it without getting caught under the feet of the other characters, who are mostly friendly to the mop-like dog in the TV show, but here seem to hate his stone masonry plans. Also, you have a health bar that deteriorates through play, and you must eat the sugar cubes that you're supposed to build the house with. Crikey, there's a decision for you. However, you can find enough sugar cubes in order to build the house without having to worry too much about his insatiable sugar hunger. You build Dougal's saccharine erection by stacking cubes and dragging them to this one small mushroom near the centre of the playfield for some reason or another, because the magic roundabout doesn't seem to think it has to explain anything. I've got no idea why this mushroom is so important to the building of the house there of Dougal. You build the residence and you get to do it again in the next level, as that's all there is really to the magic roundabout game. It's about Dougal going around this sort of maze and building his house, and that's fine, I guess. But if Dougal's house building is the whole experience, how does it play? Well, it's fine for about 10 minutes or so. Dougal's sprite, it's too big really, and he manoeuvres like a legless hippo in slurry. He can't turn around with his stack of cubes, and he constantly ends up getting stuck to these cardboard trees, which isn't great, as the contact with the other roundabout characters usually ends up with you desperately trying to move your canine character away, usually unsuccessfully. You see, the problem is your lives erode because there's very little in the way of post-hit invulnerability, which really should be a standard feature in games such as this. Graphically, the characters do look like the characters from the Magic Roundabout show, presented here in simple primary colours. And, well, you can't really fault the background for lacking detail when the original show had a few 2D trees in a white void. That said, why is the playfield blue? The spectrum can do white. Yeah, a yellow dog on a white background might be difficult to spot or even stare at, but you know what? You should have gone with it. It would have looked almost, alright, not very, but much similar to the TV show. But how did the magazines rate it? Well, not that well, no. CMVG gave it a 7, along with a review that was very Magic Roundabout inspired in terms of how it was written, but it was a real bugger to quote from, so I won't do that. Crash Magazine gave it a 51%, saying it may prove popular with young children, but it lacks content for older people. Sinclair User awarded it a 5 out of 10 and informed us that it's not a game to get the adrenaline flowing, but it nevertheless is great to see Dougal and his friends are still around, which seems right, seeing as the game came out in between the OG Eric Thompson series in the 60s and 70s and the 1992 reboot. Well then, there's not really a lot more to discuss here, so I'm going to wrap the episode up early. It's a bit of a shorter one this week. I guess we've discussed the sugar addicted dog and his friends for long enough. And now it's time for bed, said Zebedee. Okay, thanks, bye.